Welcome back to another episode of Talking with T, a podcast with all the streamer friends. I am joined here by a partner streamer that is well known in the OCE community. It is none other than TJBirrd. Hello.
Hello, hi, how are you?
Good, thank you. How are you?
Doing really well. We chilling?
That's good to hear. Thank you for being on the podcast.
That's all right.
You are 22, correct?
Yeah, 23 in January, nearing the boomer mark very, very quickly.
Once you reach your 20s, that's just boomer instant.
Yeah, look, it's pretty scary, I'm not gonna lie.
What was it like growing up in the late 90s, going on to the 2000s?
Look, I don't remember much of the 90s, being only 1 years old for the end of it. But growing up through the 2000s, it was very much not about being on a computer, being on Instagram, being on social media. It was more about just like going out, hanging out with friends, checking out different sort of parks or stuff like that. It was more outside than it is definitely today, where a lot of kids are sort of finding their time inside, just watching stuff on their iPad or playing games and a lot of that.
A lot has definitely changed since back when we were kids, playing in the park and our parents calling us home, that kind of thing. You live in Queensland, right?
I do, and it is very hot.
Very, very hot compared
Yeah.
to Sydney. Like right now, the weather in Sydney is just terrible.
It's been a pretty hot couple of days. I think like the last 2 days though have been like pretty cool here, but Queensland's normally quite a humid and hot sort of state, so it's not the most convenient city or state to live in, especially for streaming when like, you know, you got hot computers, hot lights, everything as well, but it's not too bad.
Yeah, the computers definitely amplifies the heat, that's for sure, especially in the summer. You just want to get out of your room.
Yeah, I know, right?
What's it like in Brizzy?
It's nice. I really love Brisbane as a home. It is like not overly populated, really pretty. There's lots of lights at night. You can go and do like a lot of things. A lot of people don't give it enough credit for what it's due. Everyone sort of compares it to Sydney and Melbourne, which are cities that have been a lot more alive for a much longer time. But besides Brisbane's heat and it having a smaller population, like always running into people that you know, always crossing paths with old friends and stuff like that. Apart from that, it's a nice city to live in and it's really beautiful.
Brisbane seems to be a small, considering it is the capital, if you're bumping into mutual friends,
Yeah.
your family. What was it like as a child compared to now?
My family's like always been good. Like when I was a child, it was very much all about growing up and making sure that I was outside playing sports and stuff like that. Whereas I've liked spending my time more on the computer, like as much as I was sort of countering what I was saying before. Like I did enjoy a lot of things on the computer. I liked playing games. I liked creating stuff. Like I've been creating content or like attempting, I'd like to say, creating content since I was probably about 11 or 10 years old. So it's always been something that I've like been passionate about. And my parents initially were very against it. Back then it was very much not mainstream at all. Very much like get off the computer, stop playing games, get off the console, whatever you're doing, and go outside and go kick the footy around or something. Over time they started understanding this is something that he's passionate about. This is something that he likes doing. And maybe we'll just see where it goes. It's ended up paying off a fair bit. I started working in esports and had a lot of a career there. I think they saw that, especially with a lot of the traveling I was doing for it. And they thought, oh, okay, this is actually somewhat of a legitimate thing. Maybe we should let him actually stay on the computer and keep pursuing his career there. That's sort of how it went for me.
Would you consider more so that your family was worried that you're playing too much games, or that you were a little bit detached?
I think they were pretty worried about me playing too many games. I wouldn't say I was too detached from reality. I still did a lot of things with mates. I still hang out with friends. I still went to parties. I wasn't the most antisocial being. It was more, they were worried that instead of doing my schoolwork or my university work or something like that, I was spending that time sort of playing games or messing around on the computer, watching Twitch, watching YouTube, stuff like that. I think they were just concerned for me. It ended up turning out for the better, which is good.
Yeah, it's good that it turned out for the better, for sure. Would you say that they're heaps supportive now than they were before?
Definitely. Dad still doesn't really understand. Mum sort of understood for like the past couple of years, especially when I started going like, all right, well, I'm going to, you know, New York for the Fortnite World Cup. I'll see you in like 2 weeks. And they're like, wait, you're going to New York for a video game? Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's cool. I think as soon as that sort of happened, that was a sort of turning point where they're just like, okay, yeah, that's cool. I'll let you sort of pursue that sort of field that you want to be in. I started sort of showing up in the media, different sort of esports gaming, all sorts of stuff like that. And they were kind of like, okay, so this is a legitimate thing. It's not just this kid wasting his time sitting on a computer playing video games.
Yeah, so it kind of opened
Yeah.
their eyes a little bit. Yeah, well, that's good. It's good that you have your parents supporting you now and being completely understanding. I think as a content creator yourself, you can kind of cherish that, because it's good to have support, because you've come a long way.
I mean, like, I wouldn't say I'm like the most recognized or established sort of content creator. I feel like the more and more I progress into that sort of field, the more legitimate Twitch streaming and content creation, YouTube making, stuff like that is becoming.
Yeah, of course, of course. What was it like in high school, being in primary, stuff like that?
My schooling was pretty fun. I wasn't like an excelling student. I wasn't even like a bad student either. I kind of just did what I did to sort of pass my subjects and get through the school. I had good friend groups. I was pretty social at school. I did all the co-curricular activities like sports and, different media sort of subjects and events and things like that. But I don't know, like, yeah, it was a pretty good schooling experience. Definitely trying to do content creation and stuff like that when I was like, sort of that younger age was pretty tricky, especially as soon as sort of people from school caught on to what I was trying to do. It was somewhat frowned upon, I guess. But other than that, no, it was pretty good.
And when they started catching on, did they project your content around the school, that kind of thing?
No, it definitely wasn't positively received. It was very much like a new thing back then. And I guess any 11, 12, 13-year-old trying to create a YouTube sort of career or anything like that, a content back then, it was very much like, hey, let's all laugh and point at the kid that's making YouTube gaming videos. So it definitely wasn't well received. That's sort of the main reason I stopped a good 4 to 5 years and then sort of came back when I sort of realized, okay, you can kind of legitimize it a bit more when you're in your 20s, be taken a bit more seriously, especially when you try as much as you do. And I think the people that did know about it back then, there are still some twats that are still quite negative towards it and sort of bring it up if I ever see them. But there are some people that are just like, wow, you actually turned this around. You met Ninja, you met all these other people. Oh, okay. I didn't realize you were like actually sort of that serious about it. And that was really cool to sort of have those interactions with people that sort of once upon a time frowned upon it.
Yeah. Is it kind of interesting to see how their mindset changed from, oh, he's just a kid doing content to now, oh, okay, he's done esports, he's met a lot of people.
Yeah, I think so. Because as soon as I posted that photo with Ninja on my Instagram and Dr. Disrespect, they saw that. And every time I saw those sort of people after that, they were like, oh, wow, he actually had an opportunity to sort of go and meet those people in Berlin. Like, that's really, really cool. Not many people obviously get that opportunity. This was back when Fortnite was sort of the blowing up. And a lot of the mainstream sort of people, even people that just played Fortnite regularly and don't really watching Twitch or YouTube or anything like that, started seeing that and they were like, oh, wow, that's Ninja. He's a big deal. Even people outside of gaming know who Ninja is. And so that was a really, really cool experience having people recognize me for that and sort of legitimize what I do.
Yeah, of course. That's very important that they can legitimize that because you're serious. This is your livelihood. Are they still around now supporting you?
I have really close friends and I have mates that sort of do. I wouldn't say I do like to keep that separation from that school life back when I was from school and those people that sort of knew about it then to what I do now. It still kind of knocks me for a six whenever I see someone from my schooling or someone like that pop up on TikTok or Twitch or something like that. And I kind of go, okay, this is a bit unusual having that sort of connect. I do have those close mates that are sort of aware of what I do. They are supportive. They think it's really, really cool. Despite being at such like a smaller sort of size, I think like they still sort of recognize what I'm trying to achieve and hope that I do succeed in it.
Yeah, of course. Twitch is small, especially in the OCE community. So when you see them popping up, you think, oh gosh, it's a small world, you know?
Yeah, definitely.
When did you start streaming?
Technically, I started streaming in 2012. I really started streaming February.
And what was streaming like when you first started in 2012 and when you started again in February last year?
Streaming back then was very much like I was doing YouTube back then. I was making YouTube videos and I saw a few people that were smaller and I was like, I could try and stream. But back then, the stuff that I was making YouTube on was like an old MacBook from 2011. So it's definitely not a streaming PC or a gaming PC by any means. And you understand how like sort of much processing power you need to be able to stream. Doing something like that on a MacBook with 1 megabit upload speed wasn't tangibles. I did stop it then. I just stuck to YouTube. But then once I moved to Sydney and I was able to get away from having that 1 megabyte upload speed, I could actually start streaming and trying it out. So I hooked up my camera, hooked up my microphone and started going with it. And it ended up working pretty well. Hooked onto a few communities and started making friends on the current Twitch space compared to like what it was back then. I do kind of regret not going full ham back then and like sort of finding ways to sort of get around it then. It has worked out now. It would have been a cool start as like an earlier sort of streamer back when Twitch was very OG.
Your setup looks great, you know, the lighting, the shelving. I've always kind of admired your setup. Very, very
Thank
aesthetic. Look, I feel you. I think we've all been there with, you know, wanting to start off streaming with a 2011 iMac. I started streaming last year in July.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have an iMac laptop. However, I did have a 2011 iMac desktop.
Yeah.
I started streaming Minecraft for about an hour, and it absolutely cooked my computer.
Yeah, it's not good for it.
Yeah, like you can touch the top of it, and you can just crack an egg open on it, and
Yeah, it gets very, very heated up for sure. Not the
yeah,
best cooling on those computers.
yeah. But fast forward to Christmas, I got a new PC.
All easy breezy when you have a gaming computer. Makes everything so much better.
Pretty much, and it doesn't matter how much you want to spend into it, as long as you can play the games that you enjoy. That's what matters.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah.
How did you get partnered?
This is a story. I don't want to talk about it too much because it's still a bit iffy. As someone as invested in the esports space as much as I was, I became quite high up in the esports organization that I was working with. And being a esports organization that were partnered and sponsored by Twitch, a lot of their management and players and staff got access to being a part of the Twitch partner program. And that was back in 2013, 2014. And I was fortunate enough to receive a partnership. I do agree that Twitch's approach to Twitch partnerships is a little bit interesting, especially with esports partners. They are quite frowned upon, especially a lot of players that played Fortnite for one esports org for like a month and then quit and like got esports partnership from that. Don't really stream, have a big tick to flex in the chat. Like I do agree that Twitch has a bit of an unusual outlook on that, but yeah, I got the tick by the way since 2013. Yeah.
Yeah, so esports led you to kind of getting partnered through that.
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool. I know that you were heavily involved in esports. Do you feel that with the partner tick you have a lot more pressure if you're not?
It's always a tricky one, especially when people pop by the stream and they're like, hey, you only have 30 viewers. Why are you partnered? What's going on here? I just make the joke that I fell off. It's like you have the partnership, you've already got the one thing that people strive to achieve on the platform. And so without that sort of milestone or without that sort of goal to look for and achieve and aspire towards, it makes streaming quite demotivating, especially if you don't have that as a motivation point. Like I know a lot of people do that push to partner, and once they get partner, they fall off. Starting streaming as a partner, I sound like I'm complaining like a first world sort of complaint because I do have partnership. It's a great thing to have, and I'm extremely grateful to have it. But it definitely makes streaming like a lot less. It's not less motivating, but like I don't have that light at the end of the tunnel that I can look towards. It's kind of indefinite what goal I have to sort of push towards. And so I set my own goals of I want to push to 30 viewers, I want to push to 50 viewers, I want to push to 100 viewers, and I want to push past that further on. I do have pressure to sort of push, but I don't necessarily do. People know I'm a esports partner. I make it very transparent. I'm not hiding. I do try to do the best I can, and I want to push forward with streaming. So, yeah.
Yeah, of course. I mean, being honest and transparent to your viewers is very important. You're right. Being partner can be a little bit of a catch-22, and I've kind of observed it myself. I know a couple of streamers that are partner, like also Midget, Hightas, Geordie, those type of people. And I know Hightas, he recently got partnered, and he brought up the fact that when you're partnered, there's kind of a fear there that you're going to lose the support that you've had whilst you were pushing to get partnered. And also, since, you know, somebody that is partnered is expected to get 100 views, there's that pressure there, and then chat goes fast, and then you kind of, there's the fear of losing connection to your community, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. I don't have that issue yet. I still, as a smaller streamer with only 30 viewers, I'll have maybe 15, 20, maybe even a full active chat, which is still great. I even struggle to sort of read every message. I aspire to do so. I aspire to actually have like that connection with my viewers and have those one-on-one conversations with each of them. When you do get a big raid or you do have that chat going fast, you kind of do lose that disconnect, and you have to sort of start focusing on the content and becoming an entertainer more than you are just like a parasocial friend to a lot of your viewers. I get that issue that potentially Hightas might face if he has a faster chat. Yeah.
Do you feel that's kind of a common thing that streamers struggle with once they get partnered?
It really, really depends on what you're trying to achieve as a content creator. If you're someone that likes to be an entertainer or be like a community-based streamer. Like if you do get to that bigger size, like you can only be a community-based streamer for so long. As soon as you get up to that 1,000 viewer mark, how are you meant to have that one-on-one interaction with every single person in the chat when there's 50,000 of them? Which is partnership system doesn't mean jack. It's all about the viewership and the community that you have ultimately. High Test is a community-based streamer with a lot of viewers. Like I can understand why he'll have like some issues with that and that sort of pressure to sort of maintain that relationship even with the high numbers. Whereas I don't really face that issue just yet.
I would agree that there is two types of avenues you can go. Once you're partnered, you can just go full community or full entertainment. But at the same time, there's a point that Brody brought up, and that's when streamers that reach 30 to 40 views concurrent, they kind of feel content in themselves and they're just continuing doing what they're doing rather than kind of pushing for partner for whatever reason it may be.
I agree with a lot Brody says. Like Brody's a very, very knowledgeable person and he's been in the space for quite a long time and he's almost like a forefront leader in terms of the community. But I do disagree with that in the sense that like I feel like as a 30 viewer sort of creator, you find yourself plateauing, not because you have a lack of inspiration, not because you have a lack of content or creativity, more just because Twitch is a very, very difficult platform to sort of grow on. And you do find yourself plateauing in that sort of space because you have the same amount of people coming in as you have the same amount of people leaving. I sort of find that a lot where I'll start having a lot of new people coming into the community. I've brought in new people. I've brought in like loyal people to the community that watch my streams. But then at the same time, I'm having a lot of old viewers move on from Twitch, move on from like watching or playing games and stuff like that, and don't really have an interest in being a part of the community anymore. I'd say it's more like a plateau issue with content creation as opposed to like losing motivation. I don't find myself happy with where I'm sitting. I don't find myself happy with 30. I do like the idea of going up and further.
I definitely agree. It's more so a plateau thing. Another thing why I feel like streamers might be content averaging 30 plus views, it's because it's freaking hard. Twitch is hard. Whether or not somebody that is a 30 viewer Andy or not, it's hard. What games did you start streaming when you first started?
I'm not really like much of a gamer. I never really was. I started with Counter-Strike to see if that sort of would like go anywhere because I was very invested in like the Counter-Strike sort of space, but I did kind of stop with Counter-Strike. It wasn't really my thing. I found with Counter-Strike, like you can't really stream that game and play it and like talk to community. Like I very much want to become like an entertainer that is very interactive with the chat. And when you're trying to focus on an FPS game, like you kind of lose that one-on-one interaction with your chat or the community or the people that are talking. So I started shifting away from that and playing a lot more community-based games in the early days, a lot of Minecraft because I can play that game without really looking at the game and subconsciously playing it while talking to chat. So yeah.
Definitely FPS games, when you're playing it, you got to focus on the game in case you die, and then when you look over the chat, you never know what's going to happen. So that's very interesting how you kind of switched from FPS gaming.
I guess doing games like GeoGuessr and like what other things like marbles and stuff like that, all the community-based sort of stuff, I feel like is the best way to sort of start off a stream.
Do you value interaction with your community?
Yeah, definitely. I love having an active chat and being able to talk to them. That's one of the favorite things of being a streamer. It's almost like you're having just conversations with people in a circle and it's great. I love it.
Of course. Just making new friends, kind of interacting, that kind of thing. Do you feel that your content has changed since 2012 up till now?
Definitely. Back then, I couldn't really stream much. It was either I'd try and stream Minecraft and just run around in a single player world for a bit. Realistically, no, it hasn't changed all that much because I'm still doing the same Minecraft. I'm definitely a lot more chat focused now. Since I really started in 2020, it hasn't changed a lot. It's still very much the same thing. I guess it's changed a bit, yeah. Different me, different sort of time, for sure.
Twitch changes a lot. It's unpredictable.
Metas shift, exactly, yeah.
Did you go to university, TAFE, anything like that?
Yeah, I studied a Bachelor of Marketing and Business at a university in Queensland. I started off studying film and television and creative industries, but I shifted over to business and then from that took a bit of marketing stuff, had an opportunity to move to work in Sydney, so I took that job opportunity and yeah, went from there. I never actually finished my uni degree, which I advise people do. If you do, I haven't finished one, no.
Did you enjoy it though?
I mean, as much as people enjoy uni, I guess. Yeah, it was all right. It wasn't too bad. It was a good learning experience, and you do take a lot from uni that is kind of undervalued, and people don't really take into consideration. It's good to learn stuff from uni for sure. It's just painful. It's just very PPW.
What did you learn from being at uni?
Oh, I guess traditional mainstream business and ethical practices. I studied business, so a lot of it was very mainstream marketing, mainstream traditional sort of business practice. Whereas what I learned from business experience and running my own business is very much a new world, new media sort of way of approaching it. They teach at uni how to start a business. What I wanted to learn is how do you start an online empire. It's a very sort of different outlook. Yeah.
Did you feel that your degree in marketing, even though you stopped doing it, did you feel that it helps you with content creating and Twitch?
Not really. Business and marketing from university is very much tradition. They don't know anything about new media. They don't really talk about how social media can impact a business or how you can use social media marketing or viral marketing and stuff like that. And a lot of what content creation is about is viral marketing and how do you sort of stand out from the rest of the crowd and everyone being an influencer. So no, I wouldn't say that it did. I learned a lot of stuff in terms of running my business and doing things like that. Outside of that, not really.
Did you feel that it would have been important for uni to touch on that perspective, like social media?
I think there is an aspect of social media marketing that you need to learn and that they do teach, I guess. It depends as well how you treat content creation. I very much take content creation seriously and treat it as a small business in the marketing sort of course for marketing a business. And I know a lot of people don't particularly do that. It totally depends on your outlook at how you treat content creation. I don't think universities need to sort of do a degree on how to become a YouTuber. I don't think that's necessary, but I do think you can sort of cross-use or translate some of the skills that you do learn at uni into something like content creation for sure.
Either way, whatever you're studying at uni, it can give you life lessons in the long run. Did you also dabble a little bit into graphic designing?
Yeah, graphic design was something that I was passionate about very early, especially doing esports. That sort of field, that was my role and got me into esports was being a filmmaker and graphic designer.
Was that from uni or from something else?
That was entirely self-taught. I didn't do any uni degree for graphic design or anything like that. I just picked up Photoshop one day and started playing around. And I guess, not to toot my own horn, but I guess I do have a bit of a creative look in and a way of telling what looks nice and what doesn't look nice and being able to sort of apply that to design.
Same here with me. I enjoy graphic designing as a hobby. I don't do it professionally or I haven't taken it seriously. All the overlays that you see on my stream starting soon, just chatting, everything is done by me.
Yeah.
Because I enjoy it. I like getting creative, like you said. Even just learning a little bit of graphic designing can be a lot more easier.
Yeah, no, I think the way we're streaming though is like I've learned very much in the past couple of months where I tend to lean more into the quality of my stream. Does my stream look nice? Do I have a nice camera? Do I have nice lighting? Do I have nice graphics? All that sort of stuff. But at the end of the day, look at XQC. He's the biggest content creator on Twitch. He streams from a C920 and points it at his wall. You don't need to have the nicest graphics on Twitch though to be able to be a good content creator. A lot of the time these days, content creation is moving towards being the most genuine and down to earth you can be. And that includes being front on and straight and like not having a fancy background and fancy lights and fancy mic and everything like that. You don't need to care that much, which is a hard thing to sort of come by, especially in an entertainment business. But it makes it more personable for sure.
That's a good way to think about things. You don't have to have a good quality stream. When I started out, my mic was constantly clipping and I had no idea that it was.
Peaking and stuff like that.
Yeah, my viewers didn't tell me, and then when I play back my stream, I was like, oh my god, I sound horrible.
Not good, yeah.
My webcam mic.
I'm a sucker for technology and gear, so it's more of like a hobby, passionate thing that for me than it is to actually use it towards as like a tool to growing myself as a content creator. I bought the best mic possible just because I am passionate about that sort of stuff and putting the highest quality stuff out there. It really depends on how you approach it and what your thoughts are on it. You don't need the best computer, you don't need the best cam, you don't need the best mic. But if you are interested and passionate about that sort of thing, then why not, right?
I mean, we all want to have the best quality. I think it just comes under self-critiquing. We are our own harsh critics. You want everything to be picture perfect. Some streamers might say it's not necessarily just about the quality, but some streamers say if you've got a good quality mic, if you've got a good quality camera, people would want to watch you. Or if you don't, people are not going to want to watch you and put the time and effort.
Yeah, I agree. Like, you do have to have an element of being professional. There is a minimum bar that you need to reach to be able to be somewhat watchable. If you are below that bar and the stream is unwatchable, then yeah, that's 100% an issue. But if you're past that bar of having like something that sounds okay, something that looks okay, even if you're a no cam streamer, as long as you have a higher bit rate or a higher video resolution, as long as you have those sort of min requirements, there's no reason you can't grow on Twitch. You definitely don't need the best equipment for sure.
It's more so people watching the streams for you and not so much the games. As much as watching streamers playing games is entertaining, doesn't matter what games you play. Like, if people are watching for you and supporting you, that's what counts.
Definitely.
Even though you done it as a hobby and something that kind of entertained you, what opportunities has it led you?
Esports is probably the biggest one. I didn't lean too much into graphic design. I sort of saw it as a passionate thing that I mixed gaming and graphic design towards having a bit of a part-time casual job in esports, and that led me to more opportunities overseas. But apart from that, it's kind of just a skill. It's like being able to ride a bike or something like that. I do actually do it as a professional. I shouldn't. The business that I own is a clothing company. I do all the designs for. So I guess I do sort of have that still as my professional career, I guess, in that sort of aspect. But then it doesn't really sort of dabble into the content creation. It is a skill to have, and it is a skill to like know, being able to design, create portfolios, create documents, sales decks, stuff like that. But it's not the be and end all for sure.
With esports, do people like your graphic designing?
Yeah, I guess so. I don't want to say that I was the best in the region, but I was for a while there. I was the number one designer. As cringe as it was, I did get a lot of credit and praise, and that's what I started on and grew myself as a creative in the esports space.
With esports, how did you start getting heavily involved in esports initially?
I started off by creating a fan video for the esports team, the Renegades, back in, I think it was 2015. And I sent off an email to them saying, hey guys, here's a video that I made. What do you think? Check it out, I guess. And they're like, this is really sick. We want you to make more. Come work for us. I'm like, okay, that's cool. I didn't get paid for working for them, but it was more the recognition of working for or being a part of a big sort of reputable company like the Renegades back then. They were the number one CSGO team for an Australian team, and they had teams from America. They were based out of LA. And then from there, I got the opportunity to work more local for the Chiefs. So I did that and actually got paid for that job. I was a graphic designer and content creator. And then after that, I moved to Sydney for a different job.
You were a part of 3 esports organizations. Did it kind of open your eyes a little bit to the world of esports and what's involved, stuff like that?
Yeah, I mean, like, esports was something I was very passionate about for a long time. It was really, really cool to use that as a tool to get like a foot in the door. Past that, like, there's a lot of opportunities and stuff to get into the gaming industry. You can be a manager, you can be a content creator, you can be a designer, community manager. There are so many different roles and positions in the gaming industry.
Didn't you create a logo for an esports organization?
Yeah, when I was working at Renegades, I had some people from Brisbane reach out to me and they were like, hey, we're starting up a new esports team. We want you to get involved. And I was like, yeah, 100%. I'm keen. I'll drop my thing with Renegades now and come and work on that. It wasn't paid, but it was to be a part of something a bit more local instead of a team that was on the other side of the world. So I created a logo for them. We created like all the social media assets. We created the social media channels. And then Athletico was founded, and they ended up being the number one Australian team who competed locally for about 1.5 years, 2 years. And then from that, I was recognized as one of the founding people of that company and got opportunities to work elsewhere after that.
You mentioned earlier that you had some overseas opportunities with esports. Tell me a little bit about that.
When I was working for Athletico, we had the opportunity to go to Ukraine. That was the first trip I had with an esports team. We went there for PUBG. So I went to take videos and photos of the Athletico PUBG team. They were competing at the Star Ladder Global Invitational. And then after that, once I left and worked for Chiefs, the first trip I think I did with them was to Berlin for the PUBG Global Invitational, which was the big PGI World Cup. I think the biggest event that I went to would have been the Fortnite World Cup in New York City.
Was the Ukraine the first time that you've ever went overseas?
Not overseas for the first time. It was the first time I had gone overseas for esports and working in like a gaming industry. I had been overseas before.
What was it like going to Ukraine?
was very cold. It was snowing there, and it was the first time I was really like sort of around snow like that, and it was just crazy. It's a completely different culture over there. Very, very different. Going to bars that are 24/7 where they don't check IDs and stuff. It was just completely different sort of experience.
Did you get a little bit of a culture shock? Yeah, I mean, seeing snow for the first time is so cool because we never see snow in Australia, right?
Yeah, seeing snow for the first time, especially as someone that lives in Australia, is always a memorable moment for sure.
What about Berlin? What was that like?
Berlin was very pretty. It was a very, very pretty city. It's just very clean and very nice. There wasn't any worry or fear there. Europe's beautiful. I love Europe so much.
Yeah, yeah. I want to go to Germany. I want to see all the European countries for sure.
Mm.
Did they have a lot of beer, of course?
Yeah, lots of beer in Germany. Yeah, going to a few of the German bars and getting the big 1 liter sort of beers. Yeah, for sure.
And then you mentioned earlier as well, New York. What was that like?
Busy. I think I was there for like a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks. Where the guys were staying in middle of Manhattan, a 2-minute walk from Times Square. It was really, really cool going there and hanging out at nighttime, just going on midnight walks through Times Square and the rest of the city. It was still people around, but it was just very quiet and like just very, very pretty and just an experience in itself.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, New York's awesome.
Hopefully we can go overseas once Corona finishes. You've mentioned throughout the podcast that you have your very own merch line. You are a founder of that, correct?
Yeah, founder of Hypercarry. We do merchandise and apparel for YouTubers, influencers, and different types of content creators.
Nice. So how did it start?
While we were in Sydney, we got into connection with a few different content creators and we had a bit of capital that we wanted to starting a business for. And as someone that has a background in design and being able to do clothing, we had an opportunity to sponsor Fresh's 18th birthday party by providing him with a yacht and a bit of a venue for his 18th. And with that came a little bit of interest from him to be able to do merchandise and come through us. So we set that up with him. And he was one of our first clients, our founding client. And then from there, that stemmed into doing different merch for people like Molly, Josh Dubb, other people like that.
You'd say the conceptual meaning behind Hypercarry is to support other influencers and promote them?
Yeah, more like being a one-shop stop for anything apparel related in terms of marketing, apparel itself, design, website, stuff like that as well.
Nice. You've said that you lived in Sydney for a bit. Was that an opportunity that led you to move to Sydney?
Yeah, I guess Hyper was. I actually moved for a different reason, but that sort of stemmed into Hyper. I went down to Sydney for initially, ended up leading into that, and then having an opportunity to, instead of working for someone, work for something that I'm working towards. It was a little bit different.
Cruey also moved down to Sydney as well because he is working for Fresh.
Yeah. I was in talks with organizing Fresh's merchandise and I invited Cruey to come to Fresh's party as like a +1, I guess. And so he flew down to Sydney for the weekend. He met Fresh, he met all those sort of people. And then from that, Fresh put out a job position or an opportunity. And I said, Cruey, you should apply for it. He applied for it and then ended up getting the job and moving to Sydney.
How long were you in Sydney for?
November 2019 to November 2020.
For a whole year. Did you like being in Sydney?
Not really. It's too expensive and overcrowded. I don't particularly like Sydney that much, especially as someone that's trying to live by themselves and is in their 20s. Sydney is a nice place and it is very busy and a very alive city, but it's just not my sort of thing.
That's what everyone says about Sydney when they don't live there. It's busy, crowded. But I actually think Sydney is a good place to live, especially going into the city. Have you been to Darling Harbour?
I have, yeah. No, Darling Harbour is beautiful. It is a beautiful city. I think it's just somebody that's trying to find their feet there as a young person is very tricky, especially with how expensive it is, especially in that CBD.
Yeah, I mean, Sydney is getting a little bit expensive. Queensland, on the other hand, that's a different story.
Yeah, Queensland's a up-and-coming sort of city, I guess, or state, not as busy.
When did you move back to QLD?
As soon as borders opened in November, I had done what I needed to do in Sydney. I didn't need to be there anymore. I could continue what I was doing back in Queensland, so I moved home and been waiting for about a year for a friend of mine to get a job so we can actually go and live and get a place together somewhere. So that'd be really chill. I want to get away from the family just so I don't have to disturb them with my streaming and content creating.
Was it good to see your family again?
Yeah, definitely. Especially with COVID restricting any travel in terms of different states and going between the different cities. Yeah, it was nice to come back and live with them for a bit. But I'm definitely getting to the point where I'm like 22, still living at home. Need to start making a bit of a move ASAP.
Of course. It can be a little bit annoying. But how was it like being away from your family for a year?
I liked independence. You learn as you get older how nice doing stuff and being able to do whatever whenever your schedule is. I could eat dinner at 5 or 6 p.m. and start streaming by 6 o'clock. It was nice. I could do whatever. But I guess living in a house with 3 other people that I need to synchronize with their schedules makes things a little bit harder, for sure.
But I'm sure it was nice seeing your family.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Absolutely. Yeah, no, 100%. I do love my family. Family are number one. Definitely got a lot of time for them always. 100%.
Of course, yeah, family is always number one no matter what.
Mm.
You were a part of Team Who, correct?
Yeah, I think I still am, technically. It's not the team that I show on my channel because I have the DGens one, which I think is kind of funny.
How did you join? What was the process behind that?
I messaged Brody and I was like, hey, can I join Who? Can you invite me to Who? And he was like, yeah, okay.
Just like that.
Yeah, so I just wanted a team on Twitch. I had known Brody since I started streaming, so I was like, hey, can I just give me an invite? And he's like, okay.
I'm also a part of Team Who in a way. I definitely value a lot of the team members in Team Who, like yourself, Tunks, Crewy. I'm definitely proud to be a part of you guys because you are all hardworking individuals in one way or another, for sure.
Yeah, there's a lot of good content creators in Team Who, for sure.
What's the team dynamic between you guys and Team Who?
I think Twitch teams are a very undervalued, underused sort of thing. I'm kind of just a part of the team. Unless you're someone like the Kennel I know actually likes to push the team element and actually promote the different content creators and sort of makes it a thing. I think there's a few other teams out there that do it, including like Message Deleted and stuff like that. But in terms of Team Hero, I think there's just so many people in it. It's kind of just almost like a bit of a community circle, almost like a Discord.
That's really good. It's how it's like a community or a team circle in a way. I feel like it can be one way or the other. You can kind of push that whole team dynamic or just being in the team and try and reach out and collab with other people in the same team as you and find commonalities, that kind of thing.
Yeah, definitely.
Has Team Who led you to friendships?
More or less. It was kind of just people that Brody rated in Brody's outer circle. I guess I sort of met a few people that had mutual sort of interest in being in Team Who. Kind of just went my own way in terms of making different friends on the platform. Yeah.
It's good to expand your horizons, not just stick to one thing. That's what I find very important about Twitch. You can't just stick to one lane of people. You got to expand, no matter how big or small.
Definitely, yeah. There's so many different sub-communities and subcultures on Twitch that you need to expand and be in part as many as possible and become a bit of a name out there for sure.
The Twitch culture in itself is a bit interesting. What I've experienced is a bit hard to kind of dabble into. There's all these different things.
Like the emote culture and all that sort of stuff as well.
Yeah, the emote culture was hard for me to get around. I was a bit of a boomer at first. People commenting Sag, and I was like, what's Sag? Yeah. Pepe Laugh, what's Pepe Laugh? And then I eventually got my head around it, and I'm like, okay.
Yeah, it's almost like an inside joke in itself, especially for people that understand the Twitch culture. You go on a lot of normie sort of people that come onto Twitch and have an audience outside from YouTube or something. They're like, hey, I'm going to do a Twitch stream. And you come in and the whole chat's just like, lol. And stuff like that. Whereas you can really show the separation between the people that are Twitch born and bred versus the people that are outside of that.
Another perspective of the Twitch culture is quite complicated as well, especially me being a girl.
Yeah, no, definitely. There is that whole sort of aspect to Twitch. I understand, and it's something that I can't really relate to, but I can understand what's going on. So I love to do as much as I can to sort of help or at least bring a spotlight onto it, but it's something that I feel like is a little bit out of my control or something I can't really relate to. And I wish there was more I could do to actually help.
Absolutely. Yourself as a creator, myself as a creator, advocating for change in our own communities, the first step.
Yeah, definitely. I agree.
You've mentioned Brody in the podcast as well. So how did you meet Brody?
I met Brody outside of a bar in 2018 for AO. And I had a bit of a chat with him about random crap. But I didn't realize he was a streamer, and he didn't know I was a streamer. And then after that, popped into a stream a few times after. I think Melly rated him. From that, I met Crewy and some other people. I can thank Brody for a few of the friendships that I've made. But yeah, I guess that's sort of how I got to know him.
Is Brody the same as he is on stream?
Yeah, he's the same loud, obnoxious motherfucker. Yeah, I'd say so.
Brody, you can tell he's like a true blue Aussie, very loud and outgoing. I think Brody is a really cool individual. With friendships on Twitch, Twitch is a small world, and we've spoken about that. You've met Hyphy on Twitch. How did that happen?
I think when I went to the Queensland meetup for Twitch, I ran into him and I met him, and we very quickly realized that we both went to the same high school, which was quite a funny coincidence.
I kind of find commonalities between you and Hyphy in a way. And what I've found with him is that he's constantly go, 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 doesn't stop. And with you, it's kind of like the same thing with esports content, always on the go. Have you ever been burnt out?
Definitely. I had to take a break, I think a couple of weeks ago. I took a break for about a week or so. I didn't know what content I wanted to create. I was losing viewers. I just had no motivation and I had to stop for a bit. Came back and sort of got the ball rolling again and then did 30 days. So that was how I came back into it.
How was the 30 days of streaming?
It was good. It was good to push myself for a bit of a challenge and have more consistency and have people coming back every single day knowing that there would be a stream. And I think that was a big thing for me, letting people know I am here. You can come back and sort of watch every day, which was really cool.
Was it refreshing for you to come back to the 30 days? Has it brought back that fire?
Yeah, I'd say so. I think I've brought a few new people into the community that have stuck to my stream now, which is really, really cool.
Even just doing 30 days in a row of streaming, I got to commend you for that because...
Thank you.
Streaming every day is hard in itself.
Yeah, definitely.
I know a lot of streamers say, oh, you should stream for 3 hours with someone your size, and I get it. However, we all have life commitments. I honestly can't see myself streaming for no longer than 2 hours because I get tired.
Yeah, but that's the sacrifice you have to make. It depends on how you want to take streaming and content creation. It's one of those things. Do you see yourself passionate about it, then you need to push yourself and get yourself out of that comfort zone. I can struggle sometimes with even pushing 4 hours and I get to a 4-hour part and I'm like, okay, I know I've just been rated by 2 people with 300 viewers, but I'm extremely tired and I need to push through it and be able to stream longer so I get more people and more recommendations from the platform. It comes down to if you want to succeed with things, especially if you're extremely passionate about it, you need to make those sacrifices. And I definitely put a lot aside to take my streaming seriously. And that's just something that I choose to do.
You've taken streaming content seriously from when you started off with esports. And there are other streamers that stream longer than that. They go for 6 hours a day.
Yeah, I've noticed that.
I think XQC does 12-hour streams even.
Yeah, he streams a lot. Trainwreck does 30-hour streams. I did a 10-hour stream the other day. It depends on your streaming style and what sort of schedule you want to stick to. I mean, I still have to work full-time outside of streaming and then also have a social life too. I limit myself to 4 times a week, maybe 4 to 6 hour streams. And that's just what works for me.
Yeah, sometimes you got to limit yourself before you get burnt out. I feel like every streamer fears of being burnt out, so they take every precaution to not be burnt out.
Definitely. Yeah, 100%.
Another person that you met on Twitch is Crewy.
Mm-hmm.
So how did that work?
I popped into his stream after I think Brody rated him, spoke to him about a poster he had in the background, and I was like, hey, I know that poster. I have that one as well. Turns out he had the same job as me and lived in the same city as me back when I lived in Brisbane, but I had just moved to Sydney at that point. I hadn't really had a chance to really catch up with him, so I'm like, hey, this guy's cool. I'm gonna pop into his streams and send him a message and be like, yo, we got a lot in common. What's going on? How you doing? And I guess that's sort of how I met James.
Finding commonalities is such a good thing. I guess you really do have to thank Brody.
Yeah, for sure. Don't need to suck him up too much, but yeah, he's definitely helped a bit for sure.
I gather it's the same with See You Charlie as well.
Charlie I rated a few times because I had a few people recommend Charlie to me and I was just like, hey, this guy's pretty cool. And then I started popping into his streams more. Charlie lives in Perth. He has that late night hours, so I'd be able to finish my stream and just watch him until 2 a.m, which was sort of what I did. And it was just kind of like a degenerate hours, guilty pleasure watching his stream, I guess. So I just became mates with him that way. Charlie's chaos, and I just draw myself to chaos in some aspect. Like Charlie and I's only thing in common is really streaming and some video games, but that's about it. He's a skater. He's a bit of an alternative, edgy kid, whereas I don't see myself as that. But his streams are just pure chaos, which is why I love watching him.
And you've recently come across other people beyond Team Who, like Beefy. I've seen you around his streams.
Yeah.
Hightas as well. When did you discover them?
I only met Hightas a couple of months ago. I think I stumbled across his stream. I wasn't sure how. And I kind of just was like, yo, wait, this guy used to be in the CSGO scene. So did I. I sort of had that history with him. And we spoke about that a fair bit, which was cool. I kind of clicked with him a fair bit and played a game of CS and chatted to him about how he did his content creation and how he grew. And it was just kind of interesting, a little bit of insight from him. And so every now and then I sort of give a little bit of back and forth between how to help with the streams, how to help with YouTube, stuff like that.
It's good that you've met new people. What about Beefy? How did you come across him?
I'm not sure. I think someone told me to raid Beefy and he was Minecraft speedrunning and I kind of just popped in and was like, yo. Those guys have always been in their own circle. They have Beefy, Charlie GG, SMH, Hytaz, Luke OCE. They've always been in their own circle.
Yeah.
I had my circle with Charlie, Crewy, Tonks, Brody, and those sort of guys over there. I was a little bit separated from them, but now I've found myself in the position where I'm in the middle, especially with Charlie leaning more towards some of the NA and European sort of streamers, and Crewy and Tonks have retired. And I'm just becoming like friends with as many people as I can, getting to meet as many people as possible.
I encourage you to keep that mindset, and I think it's really good that you have found other people beyond Team Who, because from my perspective, I am heavily involved in the other circle, being Beefy, SMH, Charlie, GG, and you're right, they're a circle, they're pretty tight. However, from my perspective as somebody that is a smaller streamer than all of you guys combined, Team Who, and the kennel, I feel it's important that even though people have their own circles, people are tight, it's important to expand your horizons.
If there are people that are extremely loyal to the stream and attach onto their community, then they will give back as much as they sort of deem necessary to return the favor back to the people that are extremely loyal to them. I am always in my community's chats, especially those people that are always in every single one of my streams, always talking in my Discord, always stuff like that. I do love to give back to them and pop into their chats and show them as much love, subscribe to their streams, stuff like that, and give back to the people that are loyal to me.
And that's good that you show love to people that are loyal. I encourage that for sure. What do you think about the OCE community in general?
I think OCE is a very small community. I think we're very much a small corner that no one really talks about. The NA audience is extremely big and the EU audience is just as big. OCE is very, very densely populated with not very many viewers. And I feel like it is becoming very much more and more oversaturated. But it is still a very, very tight-knit community, and I love how everyone's sort of friends with everyone, which is really cool.
The OC community is small, as you said, so I think it just comes back to we're all streamers, we're all doing the same thing. We know what each other goes through. We know the struggles of being a streamer, so
yeah,
I think collaborating and having that in mind is important.
Definitely.
Although the OC community is small, how would you describe the dynamic in itself?
I think you'll find there's a lot more variety than people know. It all comes down to different sort of circles. There is the OC surrounding circle, but there is also small subcategories. Twitch is just like that. Twitch is a big network. You've got the FPS players, you've got the esports gamers, you've got like the community-based content creators, you've got the people that are in the Minecraft category that only stream Minecraft. It depends on really how you want to look at it. I've got lots of friends that are people that just play Minecraft 6 hours a day on stream, and they've got a Minecraft audience, and find a lot of people from your dream SMP and stuff like that. And I do also know people that are very community and just chatting based, where they will talk to their viewers the entire time. And it all comes down to similar streams and similar types of content for sure.
What did you do for work?
I started off working at Grilled when I was 16. That was my first job, working at the burger restaurant. That was when I reached out and sent an email to Renegades to get that esports gig editing for them. After that, I started working for JB Hi-Fi when I was working for Chiefs. I always wanted to work at JB Hi-Fi. It was a cool job. Work around tech. I know tech. I was being a salesperson. And then after that, I moved to Sydney. I started Hyper, and that's where I am now. 2 real jobs and then owning my own company. So that's sort of been my progression.
How did you find Grilled?
Tough, challenging. Everyone should work at a hospitality or retail joint at some point. I strongly believe that everyone needs to work in hospitality or retail. It sucks. You get your ass handed to you, but you learn a lot of life skills and learn how to get down and be dirty and be treated like shit.
They do say starting off in hospitality like Macca's, Grilled, is a foot into work experience and then expanding from there.
Yeah, I think it's the best way to appreciate how you can progress in life. As soon as you learn how to be paid minimum wage and be treated like crap, you need to learn how to respect money and respect an income and respect how you treat that money and learn how to not abuse it and just waste your money on pointless things.
Getting experience in working and handling money, it's important to learn those things. It's life experience, you know?
Yeah, definitely.
Thank you for being on the podcast.
No, absolutely. Thank you very much, Tiana. I appreciate you inviting me. Thank you to everyone that has been watching, and I assume anybody watching on the YouTube as well. Thank you very much for having me.
Of course.
All right. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.